Welcome back to Fourth and Troll Fantasy.
That's it. Waiver wire. Let's jump into it, dude. I got some guys, some fun dudes to mention here. I initially thought, I don't think this is a very strong waiver wire week. It was like, it's tough. There are some players to mention, but it's also like, well, what's the? Yeah, I think a couple of your guys, Wes. It's like, what's the? They're 100% guys to talk about. But what's the likelihood you want to? Yeah, we'll get to them when you say that anyway. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. Because they're guys that I had considered, and I'm glad you're going to mention them as well. But two guys I have to talk about here is first one is a pretty big one here. It's Josh Downs. I think he's definitely somebody you got to bring up here. Leads the team in targets since returning to the lineup. Listen, he's a must start with Joe Flacco. He's like a close your eyes and pray flex play with Anthony Richardson. It's hard because it's like you don't necessarily trust Richardson, but maybe there's a chance that Steichen just looks at him as like, dude, we're designing these plays for him. Like, you have to get the ball out to him. Please.
Please.
Side note, for what it's worth, I lost to a guy who scored 170 points this week. So it's not like I would have won had this happen. But Josh Downs had like 7.5 fantasy points after the first drive for the Colts, and he only ended with 16. So guys, come on, what are we doing here? Anyway, but still, Josh Downs 100% needs to be rostered. So if he's not rostered, you have to go get him there. And then this guy here, I think, is actually a guy that has legitimate get into your lineup potential here. And it's Jalen Tolbert, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver, second or third year, I believe. He's not any. I believe he's second year. He might be third year. Averaging 16.5 fantasy points in games where he plays 75% or more of the snaps. 16.5 points. That's well within the range of being a top 12 wide receiver kind of numbers when you're putting up those kind of numbers in games where you're just involved, where you're a key piece of the offense. And with Brandon Cooks being out and kind of his return being kind of uncertain with this knee infection, whatever it may end up being, we're not sure the magnitude of it. This is a guy that I honestly, I think he should be one of the top waiver ads this week. He is a guy that I believe we should have thought about it more this offseason, because he's being highly praised all offseason by this Dallas Cowboys team, by the regime, by the coaching. And maybe we should have taken it a little more seriously. Obviously, it came on a little slower. But truly, when he is playing 75% or more of the snaps, he is averaging 16.5 fantasy points. And then you might go, well, that's probably skewed, right? Because he scored like 20 points, 21 points, sort of. But it was like 13.5 and 14.5 points. So you're pretty happy, honestly, in that regard when it comes to like a guy who could be a flex play. He's out there. I believe you need to go get him. He is so Josh Downs and Jalen Tolbert there are my two.
Yes,
and we call him out early. So based on the Tank Bigsby projection arc, Jalen Tolbert's going to be like the wide receiver 5 in 5 weeks. So
exactly.
Move over, CD.
I think that's that's what it is. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb has been replaced with Jalen Tolbert. Yeah, if you're wondering where Tank Bigsby is going to be in this waiver wire segment, he was last episode, because we predicted it last episode. So obviously, you should have already gotten him. You should already be in your lineup because you listened to Fourth and Troll and you already knew that he was going to be great. So there's that. I have a couple here. I've got 3 waiver wires, small pieces here. One, if you need a quarterback solution, I think we can take Caleb Williams pretty seriously now. He is a waiver wire ad for me for the QB position. He has had 300-plus yards in 2 of the last 3 weeks, and he is rushing multiple times for a significant amount of yards. I mean, last game was 34 yards. That's pretty legitimate. The most impressive thing to me is while he did in week 3 throw it 52 times in order to get the 300 yards against the Panthers. I know the Panthers aren't all that impressive, but 29 attempts and you throw 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's no joke. Maybe there's a reason he was taken first overall. So if you're looking for a quarterback solution, maybe you throw in Caleb Williams. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars next week as well. And the way that Joe Flacco just balled out, maybe it's a good spot start as well. Maybe he's your new starting quarterback. He's going on a bye week in week 7. And speaking of bye weeks, I've got 2 players that are going into a bye week, which means you don't have to use your waiver wire priority. You don't have to spend fab because it's probably not going to be taken. But I want you to keep an eye on Ty Chandler, someone we mentioned at the top of the show in our Victory Lap Tuesday segment. Aaron Jones, injury prone. Ty Chandler is a good handcuff. We talked about him in the offseason, and now here he is. CJ Ham is not the one to get. It's Ty Chandler because Ty Chandler is the backup, and he was the backup when Madison was in Minnesota, and he took Madison's job. Ty Chandler is fantastic. If you're looking for some kind of running back replacement, some security, Chandler is great. And now we can start talking about my last waiver wire player, Jaylen Wright. All you Devon A. Chan haters, there you go. Fine. Over 80 yards rushing, had a few less than 10 points, no PPR volume. But if Mostert gets hurt again, or Achane misses time, or Mike McDaniel finally opens his eyes and realizes he has the best running back room in the NFL, aside from the Lions, I would say, maybe. Well, it's up in the air. It's a toss-up. Jaylen Wright's going to see some opportunities, and now is a great time to go ahead and stash him before it's too late. There's your waiver wire ads going into week 6, trollers.
Boom.